Hello and welcome to Spread Book Joy. Today I'm going to be doing the Are You Like Jane Austen tag, which was created by Shelly Swearingen. Plus, I finally finished the last Jane Austen novel I had to read, Mansfield Park, and so I will also be ranking the 6 Jane Austen novels. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jack. If you're not new, welcome back to my channel. And if you are not new, you will know that I have a very deep love and appreciation of Jane Austen's work. I took part in Jane Austen July this year for the second time, but the first time as a booktuber, and I absolutely had a great time. I didn't post as many Jane Austen related videos as I'd like to. All I managed to post in Jane Austen July was my TBR due to life stuff. Stuff got in the way. I didn't read much in July in the end, despite my ambitious TBR plans, but I just loved what I did read. I read Northanger Abbey as a buddy read with Claudia from Spencer's Library. Claudia also produced the amazing Jane Austen Task Mistress video that she kicked off her Jane Austen July. She was one of the co-hosts of Jane Austen July and she kicked it all off with that video. It was brilliant. She thought of the concept. She roped in myself and a few other booktubers to take part and do a load of silly Jane Austen related tasks. It was lots of fun, it was very funny, really well edited, and it was all for charity. Please go over to her channel. I will link it in the description box below the video and watch it, and don't skip the adverts because all the revenue from the ads will go to the winner's chosen charity. So on to today's video. So I have a number of Jane Austen related things coming out because I finally finished Mansfield Park, so I've got a review video of Mansfield Park coming out. I was tagged by the wonderful Shelly Swearingen to do the Are You Like Jane Austen original tag that she created, which is wonderful, by the way. Shelley was not a Jane Austen fan and she took part in Jane Austen July with gusto. She launched herself into it, determined to see if once and for all she could enjoy Jane Austen's work. So she's got some wonderful videos about her experiences reading Jane Austen the last month or so. And yeah, she'd created this one really fun original tag all about Jane Austen's life and to see if we are like Jane Austen. So I'm going to be doing that. And I'm also going to be then ranking my Jane Austen books, the big 6, which I'm telling you now, I keep changing my mind on even now. I've thought I've decided, but yeah, the bottom Austen and the top pretty clear in my mind, but the bits in between, so we'll see. I'll probably change my mind when we get to it, but I'm going to do the tag first. So here we go with the tag. So this is done just like a magazine quiz where you give yourself points and at the end you see whether you are like Jane Austen, you know, like those point magazines used to do, magazine quizzes used to do when you were younger. So then it tells you exactly how much like Jane Austen you are. So here we go. Prompt 1. Jane Austen was an artist and writer. Give yourself a point if you're an artist. Give yourself an extra point if you are a writer. I'd love to give myself a point for both of those, but I am a frustrated writer and artist and I just do it for fun. I wish I was doing it professionally, but not. So I can't give myself a point for either of those, but I love, you know, it would be a dream to be author illustrator. That would be amazing. Prompt 2. Austen was born to a large family. She had a total of 7 siblings, 1 sister and 6 brothers. Give yourself a point if you have 3 or more siblings in your family. Yes, I have 3 siblings. I have 3 brothers. We've got 4 of us in the family in total and I have 3. So that's a point for me. Yay. 3. Austen did not enjoy her formal education. Give yourself a point if you did not care for school. Okay, I love learning and I loved primary school, but I hated secondary school. So I think I'm going to give myself a point there because I didn't like school. And that's not that I mean, I'm a teacher now. I love learning. I love being a teacher. I love making school a welcoming, pleasant place for children. I have such good memories of primary school, but I didn't enjoy secondary school. Should I give myself half a point then? Because the longest part of my schooling I didn't enjoy. Let me see, what's it say? She didn't enjoy her formal education. Give yourself a point if you do not care for school. Okay, I'm going to give myself a point there. I didn't enjoy school. Shock horror. Secondary school. So I'm going to give a point for that. 4. Dark humour is woven throughout Austen's writing. Give yourself a point if you have a grim sense of humour. You must share a dark joke in order to get this point. Do I have a dark sense of humour? I would say yes. I don't know if I can share what I think is particularly dark humour. I don't know. I think I'll keep that to myself. I do have a dark sense of humour. I do enjoy dark humour, but yeah, I don't think there's anything that pops into my mind that's appropriate to share on this channel. So I don't. If I think about it for the end, I'll say it, and then I'll hopefully get the point. So I can't give myself a point for that one at the moment. Irritating. 5. Jane Austen broke off 2 engagements and died a spinster. Give yourself a point if you are single. No, I can't give myself a point. 6. Jane Austen experienced low periods or spells of depression. Give yourself a point if you struggled with mental health. Well, I can give myself a point with that because hasn't everybody struggled with their mental health in the last year and a half? But I did a little bit before that anyway, because I tend to overthink a lot. I tend to be quite anxious person, anxiety riddled person. So I have to work a lot on my overthinking and my overcomplicating and my over catastrophizing. I work a lot on that, and that was pre-pandemic. So yeah, I had to give myself a point for that. 7. Jane moved away from her childhood home in her 20s. Give yourself a point if you've lived away from your childhood hometown or region. I haven't. I was born in London. I'm from London. I live in London. Pretty boring, really. So I can't give myself a point for that. Question number 8. Jane was not vain. Give yourself a point if you have very little interest in vanity. Yeah, I don't think I can give myself a point for... Oh no, wait a minute. If I have very little interest in vanity, let me see. Yeah. I'm interested in comfy clothes. I don't want to look a mess, but I really wish I cared more about my appearance. Every now and again I go through bouts of thinking, wear some smarter clothes, like put more makeup on, whatever, I don't know. I go through bouts of it, and then I just completely, for 6 months last year, I suppose like most people, I didn't put a stitch of makeup on my face, and my skin is the better for it, I think. But I'm all about practicality and looking tidy. I don't really care, and comfort. Practicality, comfort and looking tidy are my things to do with clothes, my hair, all sorts of things. So yeah, I have to give myself a point for that. I'm definitely not what I would consider a vain person. I kind of wish, I don't think vanity is a thing. I think I just wish I took more care of my appearance, but I don't. So that's a point for me. Prompt number 9, hair was of little concern to Austen. Give yourself a point if you cannot be bothered with your hair. This is definitely a point to me. I am someone who can never be bothered with my hair. I get annoyed that I have to wash my hair, cut my hair, put my hair up. I like my hair to... I'm going to get a haircut soon. So basically, you're always seeing me with my hair just shoved on top of my head like this. This is lockdown hair. I haven't had my hair cut in 3 years. And you heard that right, because coming up to the pandemic, it had been like over a year since I'd cut my hair. So I think I haven't cut my hair since like late 2018. So you can say I'm not vain about my hair. My partner gave me a couple of trims in the last 6 months because my hair was just getting uncomfortable to put up around my... I wear it up because I hate it hanging down around me. I just want it out of my way. So my partner's been cutting my hair, and it's a complete mess because he tries to cut it in a straight line, but not being a hairdresser, he doesn't understand that just cutting it straight across my back doesn't mean it's going to be straight at the front, at the back. Anyway, but that's fine, I don't care. Just chop it, because it's just the ends that annoy me. I quite often feel like taking a pair of scissors and hacking the ends off. But I do need to get my hair cut soon because I am re-entering the world of work. Also, my brother is getting married in October, so I don't want to have lockdown hair for October. So yeah, soon you might see me wearing my hair down on this channel, which is a new experience for all of you. Number 10, Austen expressed her distaste for hot weather. Give yourself a point if you dislike the heat. I don't dislike heat, I like it a lot. I dislike it in London when the summer and it's hot, because when you get to like mid-20s and above in London, and in London it can get up to sort of like 30 odd degrees, 34, 35 degrees. I think at one point last year it got up to like 37. Then it's just awful because London's dirty and the heat is just a dirty place to be when it's hot. At the tube, going to work, it's just horrific. But if I don't have anywhere to go and I can just sit in my garden, love it. I love the summer, I love the warm weather, I love just loose clothing and going to the beach, and I love hot countries for holiday. Don't like humidity. dislike humidity. I've only been to one country that I thought was truly humid, and that was Cyprus. And Cyprus, got off the plane in Cyprus, I couldn't breathe. Just felt like it was just this wall of humidity. And we got off the plane, my letterbox, because my front door is over there. But yeah, no, I don't dislike the heat. So no points for me there. So let's just add up my points total. Okay, I got 5 points. If I could think of something about dark humour that I could say on here, then I get an extra point. And I was thinking about when we talked to our parents about death and my dad dying, and he tried to have a serious conversation with us about like what we should do, bury him or cremate him. And we were all like, well, what's the cheapest? Sorry, it's a little bit dark, I think it's possibly a bit dark. It's possibly our way of coping with the idea of bad things happening. But that's gallows humour, right? That's what people do when people have got a dark sense of humour. It's how they cope with darkness in the world. So yeah, so I'm going to give myself a point for that. I suppose that's worth a point, because some people might think that's distasteful, but I think it's just our way of coping with what we foresee to be an awful situation. So yeah, point for that. So 6 points in total. So how did you score? 6 to 7. You and Austen are friends. I know we are friends. We could be great friends. You two could enjoy a long walk in the country and chat about all of the things you all have in common. Yes, I completely agree. I think Austen and I would be good friends. Thank you, Shelly, for creating this lovely tag. It was a lot of fun. If you're interested in doing it, I'll leave the questions in the description box and the link to Shelly's video. Go watch it. Lots of people I know already have done this tag, so I don't know if I'm going to tag anyone in it. But yeah, if you feel like doing the tag, yeah, feel free. Shelly's lovely. Go and watch her channel as well and check out. She's so positive and yeah, really lovely person, and someone whose video I need to catch up on. So Shelly, I have been trying to catch up on your videos, but life has been running away with me as usual. But on to the ranking of my Jane Austen books. Before we start, I want to make a point perfectly clear here. This was really hard for me because the lowest ranking book and the highest ranking book I could pick quite easily. The books in between, I have quite a lot of love for all of them. So I'll explain how my ranking ended up, and it will probably change on rereads and subsequent times later on in the year. And if it ever changes, I might do another ranking video. But here we go. So my lowest ranked book, Mansfield Park. This isn't a surprise. This was the only book that I've ever tried to read and DNF'd of Jane Austen's previously, but I did read it for, started reading it for Jane Austen July and just finished it, and I've got a review video either out now, in which case I'll link it, or it's coming out soon, a very detailed review video. But I didn't like Edmund Bertram at all. I really swayed around liking Fanny Price and came out on the side of not really. She's a very confusing character for me, and I talk about it a lot in my review video. But this is not a bad book. This is a good book. This is Jane Austen. Her characterization, her discussion of social issues of the time, such as marriage for women, occupations for men, fascinating. I thought it was a really good book, and by the end I was really gripped and wanted to find out what happened. But yeah, it's still my least favourite Jane Austen book, but it still doesn't mean it's a bad book. So books after this, all the books after this of Jane Austen's I love, but so ranking them, I had to have a think about how I rank them. But this is a personal ranking, so it's not a slight on anyone else's opinion. I had to sit there and think, no, this isn't about the quality of the book. This is my personal opinion of these books, what I liked about them. But yeah, Mansfield Park comes in at 6th place. Mansfield Park, if you're not aware of it, is a tale of Fanny Price, who goes to stay, she's taken in by her richer relatives, the Bertrams of Mansfield Park. And yeah, it was a really interesting read. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest anyone start reading Jane Austen by reading Mansfield Park. It's not a good starter book for her. Sense and Sensibility is at number 5, and I wrestled with this one because I really like Sense and Sensibility. I love the story. I really like some of the characters. Some of the characters I really dislike, but yeah, it's not her best book, but it's one that I love, and I will reread again at some point. I tend to sometimes confuse it with the Ang Lee film, which I absolutely love, and sometimes it gets jumbled up in my head with the film. But we're talking about the book here, and of course it is very different. Yeah, there's quite a lot of differences from the book, but essentially in tone, the Ang Lee takes this book and elevates it for me, Ang Lee's film. I love it. I think this is definitely 5th place book for me. Next 3 are really tricky. The top one I could pick, and I will carry on picking as the top book because it's pretty much a perfect book in my eyes. But the next 3 are really tricky for me to rank. On a reread, I might think differently about them. And it's really surprising to me because the book that I've ranked second, I would never have ranked it second years ago, but now I have. So I think ranking will change as you read and reread Austen. Austen brings different things to you at different points in your life as well. It means different. Her books and her writing mean and give you different things at different stages of life. So and that's the definition of a classic, isn't it? A classic book is one you can read and reread that stands the test of time, but also it gives you something different when you read it again, I think. So next up, I'm going to put a book that I absolutely adored, Northanger Abbey. The reason this is 4th place and not higher for me, and it may rank higher on rereading, the reason it's 4th place is because I've only read it once. So even though that first read was wonderful, and I will reread it, and I loved it, and I loved the characters in this book, I can't rank it higher. I've only read it once, and yeah, that's what it boiled down to for me in terms of ranking. But Northanger Abbey, the tale of Catherine Morland, who is taken off to Bath, and Catherine Morland, the Regency era book fanatic who lets her imagination run away with her. It's funny. It's definitely the funniest Jane Austen book, I think. Though Pride and Prejudice I think is hilarious, but yeah, definitely the funniest Jane Austen book. I just loved this. It was so light-hearted in tone, and I can't wait to read it again. But at the moment it's going to stay as 4th in my ranking because I've only read it the once, and the other books that are coming up, I've read each of those twice or more. Okay, 2nd and 3rd place for me were really hard to pick. It was so hard to pick. This time last year, the book that I'm going to say is 3rd would have ranked as 2nd for me. But rereading both of these books, 2nd and 3rd place books, one of them pipped the other. I stood and looked at these books and thought, which one, if you said to me right now, you can pick it up and read it, which one are you going to pick up and read? And that's how I judged my 2nd place book. So, 3rd place. And I'm probably going to regret this straight away, but 3rd place is Persuasion. Though not in my heart, it's not a 3rd place book, and this is why ranking was so tricky for me. Persuasion is so lovely. Persuasion is the tale of Anne Elliot, who turned down Captain Wentworth, or broke off her engagement to Captain Wentworth years before, and then he comes back into her life. Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most romantic books in literature. There's a letter in it that Captain Wentworth writes to Anne Elliot, and it gives me goosebumps thinking about it now. I love this book. It's quiet, kind of melancholy about this book that isn't in the other Jane Austen books. It's a story of missed chances and missed opportunities and second chances, and how you can be persuaded by other people to take the wrong path in life. And Anne Elliot is one of my favourite Austen heroines. I really like her. She's sensible. She's not boring though. Sensible and boring. I just love her as a character. Captain Wentworth, an amazing leading man character. Just heart-stopping, lovely stuff. And it's ranked 3rd because of why I ranked my 2nd place book 2nd place, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and that's when I can talk about why these were 2nd and 3rd. So I'll reveal my 2nd place book. My 2nd place book is Emma. This is a huge shock, even to me, that I've ranked Emma as my 2nd place book. My history with Jane Austen is that I read Emma for my A-levels. When did I read that? Gosh, when I was 17. I'm 44 now, so I first read Emma when I was 17. I read it for A-level English and absolutely hated it. I didn't get it. I was young, I was foolish, I didn't understand, I didn't like the style of writing. It was just beyond me. I didn't read it at the right time in my life. Fast forward to me discovering Pride and Prejudice and enjoying that, and discovering Sense and Sensibility and enjoying that, to finally rereading Emma. And I really enjoyed the second reread. Then I reread it again, and then I read it again. And every time I've read Emma, it's got better and better, I think, in terms of a well-crafted novel, a novel that gives us a glimpse into this small provincial town and the power that the eponymous heroine Emma has in this town. So Emma, handsome, clever and rich, Emma Woodhouse is the sort of leading woman in her small provincial town of Highbury. She considers herself, at liberty to interfere in everybody's love lives, and it's the characters in this book, the richness of them, the writing. Austen is just so clever, and every time I read Emma, I'm swept away with things that I've noticed that I didn't notice before about how the narrative is constructed, how the characters interact with each other, how the portraits of these characters are painted, the humour and the observation of human nature, and I just love it. I really, really love Emma, which I'm just shocked at, and I never like to. I haven't admitted until now. I've admitted it. I love it. I love Emma, and I think, in terms of my most recent reread and how enthralled I was by it and how clever I found it and how wonderful I found it, yes, Emma is a great book. Emma's a wonderful book. And so my number one book, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Not a surprise. Pride and Prejudice is a lot of people's number one, and I am one of those people. I love Pride and Prejudice. I could pick this book up and read it over and over and over again, and I have. And I could read it anytime, any place. I could always be in the mood to read Pride and Prejudice. I love it so much. And if you don't know what it's about, everyone surely should know what it's about, but if you don't, it's about the Bennet family. There are 5 Bennet sisters, and Mr. and Mrs. Bennet live in a small town. Their house is entailed away from the female line, which means that because Mr. Bennet doesn't have any sons, when he dies, they're going to lose their house. And they're not very rich, and these girls need to be married off. Enter into this scene the eligible bachelors, Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy. Mr. Bingley falls in love with the eldest Bennet sister, and Mr. Darcy and the second eldest Bennet sister, Elizabeth Bennet, clash, and they clash massively. It is the original enemies to lovers. I'm assuming it's the original. I mean, there's probably some Shakespeare, but it is, in terms of novels and novel writing, it's one of the earliest enemies to lovers and the best enemies to lovers. It's probably why I love the enemies to lovers trope, because of Pride and Prejudice. It's so good. They cannot stand each other in the beginning, and then, yeah, so Pride and Prejudice, funny, brilliantly constructed, amazing characters yet again. Mrs. Bennet will forever be one of my favourite ludicrous Jane Austen characters. Absolutely love Mrs. Bennet. Mr. Collins, who comes along, who's the cousin of Mr. Bennet. Mr. Collins is so odious. Lady Catherine de Bourgh, there is not a single character in this book that I am not fascinated by. Brilliant book, love it. So that's my Jane Austen ranking, my 6 Jane Austen book ranking. That was really hard, and it's already in my head going, no, I think I might have to change that. But yes, going forward, it may well change on rereads. Next year for Jane Austen July, I might end up doing another ranking video, but we'll see. If you have read all 6 of Jane Austen's books, have you ranked them? What's your favourite? What's your least favourite? Do you tally with mine? Do you disagree with mine? I mean, it's not about disagreeing, is it? It's just my opinion. So what do you think of Jane Austen's books? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked my rambling nonsense and you're thinking, well, I'd like to see more of this rambling nonsense, you can by clicking subscribe, hitting the notification bell, all that business. So please, if you like the video, do click like, please leave a comment. I love to talk to people in the comments, and hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye.